Hey everybody, this is Dr. Keith with Dads for Life, and this is Straight Talk to the Parents and Straight Talk with Parents, actually. And we are here every single Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time, and 9 a.m. Australian Time, maybe? I don't know. But I'm going to defer right down to my co-host, my beautiful co-host, Miss Ariel Wheeler, who is a brand specialist, and she is going to just say hello to everybody from the down under Australia. Hello, Ariel.
G'day everyone, I'm from down under, I'm from the Gold Coast, Australia, and I'm so great to be here. We have an amazing guest speaker on today, Don Middleton, and I'm so honoured and blessed to co-host with my amazing friend Keith Jowers. So I'm just ready and pumped to go. So just just a tiny bit about me. I'm the founder of I Have Brand, and as Keith says, I'm into visibility, branding, but also I'm a writer and I'm a coach as well. So basically, I help heart-centered creative entrepreneurs like many of our viewers online to help them create cash flow, manifest it and repeat it by creating a connected community who repeatedly buys from them. So I'm really excited because I'm absolutely passionate about this story we've got for you guys tonight. So I'm going to hand it back over to my amazing host, Keith Jowers.
Oh, thank you, Ariel. You're having a little bit of a struggle net there I can see on this end, but just to let you know, but we're going to continue on, folks. I am Dr. Keith with Dads for Life, and I'm here to encourage, enhance, and enrich the lives of dads. Is how I started this organization, but moms too, because we have so many moms that follow what we do. Now we look like over as of last year, we are now approaching 22 countries that somebody is listening to something that Dads for Life is putting out, and we're very excited about our growth here at Dads for Life. Well, let's get on with our class tonight. I am so excited about my guest tonight. Don Middleton and I met just a couple of weeks ago in Houston, Texas for the first time, and we feel like we've known each other for a long time simply because we have some similarities to our story. I want to just kind of introduce you a little bit to him, and then we're going to let him say a few words, and then we're going to get right to the meat of this particular class tonight. Don Middleton is an author. He wrote this wonderful book right here called Conversations with My Dad, and we're going to get into the subject of that tonight. It is a wonderful book. He is a proud veteran of the U.S. Army. We are in different services, but we are still veterans. He's a manager in the medical field. He's been a youth mentor for many years, and he's a public speaker. And Don actually and I have something in common because he lost his father at a young age, just like I did. I lost my dad at 11, and Don lost his father at 14. And we both can attest to that situation, meaning that something has to change in a boy's life if he has no mentors. We had to find our own. And that's what, Don, we're going to kind of get into why he wrote this book, to make sure that his children were going to have a dad. So I want to welcome my friend, and we just talked about how we're just going to connect and continue helping dads and moms out there. I want to welcome my friend, Donald Middleton. Hello, Don. How are you? All the way from California.
Well, good afternoon, Keith. I want to first of all thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I am so honored to be here today to share part of my adventure, my ongoing adventure, through the stories that I've written in my first volume, Conversations with My Dad.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting into the meat of that. I do want to welcome all my replay viewers out there on the internet as we repurpose this class, and we also have Periscope going on right now. So welcome to all my Periscope followers out there, because we have a following, and then sometimes they turn in, Don, right now, and we may get some questions through Periscope, but we also may get some questions later on that are emailed to us as this is repurposed. So, you know, this thing just continues on, and we're very excited about that. So I want to go ahead and get right to the meat of your book, Don. All right, so we know that you and I have some similar stories, okay? We know that well, you have 3 children. I only have 1, but I have 2 grandchildren. So I'm really excited about helping influence their life too. But your main reason for writing this book, you were telling me, I want you to kind of tell our audience, why did you write Conversations with My Dad?
Well, so Keith, in all actuality, Conversations with My Dad started out as a CD. And what inspired that CD was my middle child, who people often call the child with challenges. He was making some bad choices at a point in his life. So, you know, as a father, you know as well, our kids go through phases. When they're little, we're their heroes, we can do no wrong. Then that teenage cycle comes into play, and as parents, they see us as we don't know anything. And then we hope we get them through that so that they can get on the other side and realize, you know, we're not such bad people after all. So my son was making some bad choices. And I put him to the side one day. I says, look, me and you, we need to talk about a few things, because the pathway that I see you taking is going to lead you to a bad place. So when you get there, I don't want you to be able to say that you didn't know any better, you weren't taught better ways, and you didn't have anybody to show you the way. So we're gonna have a conversation, and we're gonna talk about 7 things that I need you to understand as you go forth as a young person and grow into a man. And I said, you can take these and use them, or you can choose not to use them, but I want to give them to you. And so the genesis of the book, or the foundation, is the Mind Your Business chapter of the book, where I just essentially tell them that your life is like a business. And I said, just like a business, whoever you merge with, whoever you do acquisitions with, whoever you partner with, it's going to usually determine the outcomes you get on the other side. And so I thought that was just very important. And it was so strange, because he understood then, but he still wasn't at the point where he wanted to listen and learn. But I can say now, so that this book started out 10 years ago now, actually. The CD, I made the CD 10 years ago in August of 2007. And I had a copy because I was listening to it the other day. And I was like, wow, that was 10 years ago. So 10 years later, I'm happy to say that my son is still here. He's thriving. And he is saying, man, Pops, I don't see how you didn't kill me back then. So I feel a little bit of a victory there. I really do, because that's where I wanted to get him. Because so many young people, and we see it, they make choices that put them in a bad place. But once they get there, it's too late. Some things you can't undo. You know, you can't undo if you take a person's life. You can't undo if you mess up your clean criminal background. So I wanted him to understand the importance of those things. You know, that's your business. Because when you go to get a job, they're going to check your background. And when they check your background, if it doesn't come back right, you're going to be on the outside looking in. So as I said earlier, I'm glad to report 10 years later, he is in a good place.
Let's talk about this, because, you talk about it as a business. Now, I've been an entrepreneur for years. My wife and I, we made money, lost money, it's just up and down when it comes to business. And that's like being a parent as well. But sometimes,
yes.
Now, Donald, and I know you agree with me here, sometimes to say you can't undo those things from the past. But I tell you, our guest next week is a wonderful story about how God can come in and turn them totally around, and then you wind up blessing other businesses, so to speak. You bless other people, right? So you can turn those things around. But what age was that where you literally said, well, I got to get a hold of this boy, or this, because you have 2 sons and a daughter. What age was that you were having some difficulty where you said, bam, I got to get something done with these kids? Not your age
in particular, in particularly with my one son that truly inspired the process of this book, he's been an ongoing adventure from elementary school. But like I said, as he started to progress into those teenage years, so the things you do as a child, you know, people kind of look and say, okay, well, he's going to grow out of that or he'll be all right. But as we progress to that adult phase of our life, things become a little less forgiving, okay, in terms of, like I said, that business that we're talking about. Right. So in other words, if you're going out and you're doing, they'll call it youthful mischief, but youthful mischief will be looked at in a different way once you become older, because people think that you should have grown out of those things. And so I'll say the age, to answer your question though, that I really said, I got to get this right and get a hold of this, was around 15 years old.
For some reason, I knew you were going to say that age, because as a school resource officer for almost 20 years of a 30-year police career, that was always the year when they walk in, the parents walk in and say, Officer Jarrett, you got to do something with him, because I'm about ready to kill him. And I'm going like, well, let's sit down and talk about this. And that's where actually the book behind me, Daily Connections, got written, is because I would help them connect with each other. You know, some kind of idea, some kind of thought, something that they could do to help each other understand the situation. And basically, I always told the kids when I was working with them, I said, listen, unless you're paying the bills there, your parents are still in control, whether you like it or not, you know. And you have to take the parent, and I tell them that you do pay the bills, so you control what's going on there, you know. But it was a balance thing. We had to work that out. I'm going to ask you another question here, and then I'm going to defer to my friend down in Australia, Miss Ariel. Education. You talk on page 23 about education. You talk that, you know, school is not just kind of a statement, okay? This, you wanted to make a point to him that the more education he got, age appropriately that is, the better he's going to do for the following year in school and then on into life. Can you kind of, you know, elaborate on that a little bit, Don?
So I want to add something to the previous point and bridge into what you just asked me. So this is from a parent's perspective, right? As a father, I thought that I must be doing a crappy job because I was doing the right things and setting the right examples, but my one particular kid wasn't getting it. So like you said, I had 3 kids, right? I understood that the oldest son would affect the decisions of the younger son, so I didn't want it to become a twofold issue. My daughter is a bit more of a good, strong, free-thinking young lady. She's always been that way and is to this very day. And so to the education piece, so I like to play basketball, right? And so when me and, you know how it is, father, son, we get out there and we play ball. He's telling me how he's going to the NBA. I said, son, you, along with a million other young men, have that same goal and dream. And he says, well, yeah, but I'm going to be better than Michael Jordan. And I says, okay, that's fine. But do you know why Michael Jordan is known as the best basketball player in the world? He says, no. I says, because he went to college, he went to school. I said, because I play with guys right now that are better than Michael Jordan, but guess what? They didn't finish school, so they never got that chance to show their ability. So school is a place, not only it's a platform for learning, it's also a platform for, once again, building that business we talked about, those connections, those brands. It's so interesting that, you know, I'm a guy that I wasn't big into social media and all of that. I didn't want to be on Facebook. But once I got on Facebook, I was surprised at how many people that knew me from the past. Oh my God, Donna, where have you been? But those are all of the relationships that I built through the course of time, through school, right? Through college, because I didn't go into college myself until I think I started college. I might have been 28 years old when I started college. And I only did it for my kids to show them how important school was. I wanted them to see that even me at my advanced age of 28, right, who probably didn't need college because I had a good job still at the time because I've been in my current job for 28 years now. But I wanted them to see that, hey, you can go to school and you can get better. It's very important. So that was kind of the impetus for getting that done?
Well, I tell you, it's a marvelous work that you've done there. Your children now are adults, obviously. What are their ages now? Roughly, you don't have to tell me exactly.
So now, well, they're 31, 32, and 33 years old, and it's so amazing. So I'm dating myself, so I'm not ashamed to be an older guy now. Yeah. So I still play ball, and they call me old school now, but I still do well for myself. But when I thought about it in retrospect and getting ready to talk to you, and we talked about it a little earlier, I thought how amazing that must have been. I had 3 children by the time I was 23 years old. But me and my wife were married at 20 years old. So I've been married for 33 years now. And right out of the bat, child. But it's been a beautiful thing for me. And I've loved every minute of being a father and a husband, because I grew up in a strong family like that. So, and it's so, I think it's so amazing that all of my male friends that I have are good fathers. And I thought about it. I thought about all my guy friends. All of them are connected to their children and their family. And that's a really good thing. And all of the children are doing well.
That's good. And that's what we do here at Dads for Life. We try to get you to that point if you're not there, dads. And Don, we have a lot of moms that follow what we do because they're pulling both roles, because a lot of dads, they hit the road.
Exactly.
Well, Don, I'm going to refer to you. Yeah. I'm going to defer down to my friend in Australia, and we're going to get her view on this, and she may have a question or two. She's going to highlight your book. You can go through that with her. I'm going to kind of be quiet just a few minutes, and I'm going to check Periscope. We do welcome all our replay viewers and our Periscope family. So while I'm doing this, folks, if you have a question for Don, or our guest here, Mr. Hurst, is online and he has a question, we're going to be taking those shortly. So I will check that while we defer down to Australia. Welcome to my co-host, Ariel Wheeler.
Hi, Keith. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the reset there. I have a great question for Donald here. Yes, it is. I'm a mum. I've only been a mum for, I think 2.5 years now. So my daughter is still very young. So what is some of the common things that you see as a parent while your children are growing up? So is there some type of theme that you like to teach your children, or is there a habit that you believe that you've instilled in all of your children that you see now?
That's a good question, Ariel. And I just want to give you a piece of advice that my aunt passed on to us. She said, being a parent is 9 months and 99 years. So that means it's never over, okay? So, I can't wait till you're grown or 18 and get out of the house. Well, I'm telling you now, as a father, they're still in my pocket to this day, but I love every minute of it. I'm glad for it. So, but to answer your question, so there's no one particular thing when it comes to my children, because I realize this about not only my children, but people. We are all different. And what I mean by that is, so you can have 4 kids raised in the same home, 2 or however many, with the same values, right? The parents will lay down the same goals and values, but they all will perceive them and take from them what they want to take from them to kind of achieve whatever it is that they may be trying to achieve, or deal with whatever it is that they're going through in their life. So, of course, I try to put core values of responsibility and respect. Respect is a very, very, very important thing that I try to put into the foundation of all of my kids, because what I try to make them understand is respect goes a long way in building good relationships, period. And even when it comes to police interaction, once again, so I'm 53, not ashamed to say that. And I'm happy to say that, and especially being a Black male, that I've had positive police interactions in the limited interactions that I have. And it's usually in form of traffic stop or what have you, but always leading with respect. And respect has always been returned to me. And whether I got a ticket or not, it just goes a long way in keeping things in a manageable state. So that's one of the core things that I think is important.
Absolutely. I think respect and love and compassion are like one of the top three most important moral values that we as humans need to have. And that's a beautiful thing, especially respect to teach our children early, because as growing up close to the slums myself down in Tamworth, that's my hometown here in Australia, is we used to live on that border where you used to see a lot of homeless people, there was a lot of drug addicts, there was a lot of drugs and needles and things where I used to grow up. So I have experience being in that environment. So you kind of understand how important respect is for people who may be living in different types, because we all come from all different backgrounds, and having respect for people, doesn't matter what color, whether it's sex, religion, doesn't matter. Respect is a universal thing, and it's a great thing to teach our children, and it's a blessing to be able to teach them early. And one of the things that I instill in my children, especially my child, is compassion and sharing. She's at the stage now where she's 2.5 and she loves throwing things around the room, especially food. So there's some of the things. So it's very hard to teach your children to actually share it and put their food in the bowl. But it's always, as my friend Keith says, always start them early. Start them early with some of the values that you have that you want to instill early. And it's great that we're talking about respect, because I can see in the US from here in Australia, it's quite a crazy time, and we are living in a very crazy world, and it would be nice to see, respect more in schools as well, and go same for here as well. So I'm going to, on that note, I'm going to showcase your book, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So just let me know when you can see my screen share, and we will get started. Okay, just let me know when you can see the screen there.
I can indeed, yes.
Absolutely. I would love for you, Donald, to walk us through about conversations with dads, please.
So conversations with my dad, as I was saying earlier, it was just inspired by some of the things that I saw, my children going through at a particular stage in their life. And why I chose the title of Conversations with My Dad is because conversation is the birthplace for change. So there can be no change without dialogue. And so the result of that change is rooted in the action after the conversation takes place. And so when you look at the cover, and I'm a guy that I could care less if my face is on anything. It was a chore just to get them to let me have them put my face on the back of the book, because that's not what it's about. The book symbolizes what we go through. So you see on the top, it's got 4 different signposts: success, business, choice, and changes. And so what I tell people when I talk about the book, I say that your success in life is determined on how you handle your business and the choices that you make during the time of decision, and then how you deal with the changes that come your way. Because in all of our life, there's going to be change. All of those things will take place in our life. We'll have some success somewhere along the way. We'll have to do business. We're going to have to make the choice, and we're going to have to deal with change. And so that's what I wanted the cover of the book to symbolize.
Wow, that is like super powerful, because it's so interconnected as us being humans, but also accessing our full potential, knowing that every decision, every action, every value, everything that we do in our life is connected to who we are. And that is such a powerful thing. So what are some of the choices that you've made about accessing your full potential?
So if I'm going to be transparent, I'm a stubborn guy sometimes, and a procrastinator. And so my wife always gets on me about, and let me say this, I got a wonderful wife. She's like my mother, okay? So she's still raising me, but when she's trying to teach me things, and when I don't want to acquiesce at that particular time, I can get a little stubborn or take my time about doing. But I learned, so this is the choice that I made. I learned that delayed obedience is in fact disobedience. So I told my wife that I would be a good child and quit being disobedient so that I could be better. So that's one of the choices that I made.
That is amazing because I'm the same. I'm quite stubborn, I'm very strong-willed, and I also procrastinate as well.
Yes.
So I'm in the same boat with that one. So, and it's sometimes it's very hard to stay accountable when you just don't feel like being accountable. But that's the thing as parents, you know, we have to find that medium, that balance of staying accountable because our children, especially at 2.5 years of age and until they're into grade 9, is everything that they see, everything that they experience, and everything about success, business, choice, and changes is instilled in them during that time. So everything that you teach them is in that massive amount of block of time. So you have all that time to make good choices, make not so great choices, make mistakes, you know, stuff up a little bit and learn from it because their journey is also about learning as well. And, you know, as Keith says, it's also about, you know, enhancing and enriching their life. And in saying so, they do the same for you. And I'm just in awe with you because, you know, you've written a book, you've talked about self-worth, full potential, and, you know, making the choices, even though you've, you know, had a bit of a blooper on the way, you've made something into a goal and you've been able to give all of your children, and especially your wife, amazing gift, not only those children, but the gift of who you are. So thank you so much, Donald, for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
Your soul. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to defer back to Keith.
Okay.
Because I'm sure he's got amazing questions to ask on top of that as well.
Well, you're more amazing at times, so I do appreciate that. I have a question from someone though regarding if multiple kids at different ages when they're young. Do you spend more time with them as a group or individually?
So by them being so close together, we were always together, always. They were either with myself or my wife all the time. And we did a lot of things as a family group everywhere we went. And then especially my wife. So she was kind of probably like the mother duck because we both worked. But she, for a time, she took off time working and did some, you know, raising the kids. I would work afternoons sometimes and watch them in the morning. So we spent a lot of time together.
Well, let's talk about existence. You mentioned in page 33 about, let's discuss the two things you taught your children that are crucial in their existence. One was you talk about relationships and know-how. Can you talk a little bit about those two things? Sure.
So when I brought this topic up, I wanted them to understand. So that's in my chapter that's entitled "The Keys to an Easier Existence," right, or a better existence. That throughout your life, what determines a lot of times your success and failure and the ease of the things that you go through or the challenges is the relationships with the people around you and the know-how that you have as it relates to your environment. So back to the education piece, right? And what an example that I used was education. I wasn't necessarily saying you got to go to college or this or that, wherever you are. So if somebody dropped you on a deserted island, if you didn't have the know-how, right, to choose the right plants to eat, the right water source to drink from, and the like, that could determine either your longevity or your early demise. So relationships, right? You want to kind of always throughout life nurture relationships. So I've lived in different places across this country. I have been blessed to have good relationships with people everywhere I lived. So if I lived in Germany, if I lived on the West Coast, if on the East Coast, if I was in Honduras, wherever I was blessed to have good relationships. Now, from the relationship, I garnered knowledge, right? Which is know-how. Where should I go? Where shouldn't I go? What should I do? What should I not do? So that's the know-how, right? I need to know how to navigate my environment, no matter where I am. So be it from if I'm in a tough neighborhood or if I'm in a rural area, it's knowledge of know-how and the relationships that come from you being in that environment.
Don, I have another question that came in. It says, did you struggle with allocating time for family in between running a business or your job? I mean, did you struggle with that time and making that quality time?
You know, I'm going to say no, only because of this, because my wife and I have always been entrepreneurial, meaning that even though we worked, we have always had other businesses. So my wife did gift baskets while the children were growing up. And so from that time, they were like the little elves. They would build the assembly line of gift baskets, and then they would go out, myself included, on the days of the weekend on street corners and sell gift baskets. Because once again, we're trying to instill the business mindset in them, saying that you don't have to try to get a job, you can make a job yourself. And so myself included, so I'm very handy, and my wife is as well, because her father was a carpenter and my father was kind of like a carpenter as well, or handyman. So we know how to do a lot of home improvement projects, and I would take my children with them just to show them the value of business and money. We painted our church. Our pastor hired me to paint the church for them. So I in turn hired my sons just to give them the understanding of business. And so once again, my favorite middle son, I was going to pay them all $300. And wow. My son wanted a pair of Air Jordans, right? Yeah, I was going to pay them well. So he wanted a pair of Air Jordans, and they cost $150. And I said, son, you mean to tell me that you're going to take 50% of the money that it took you 1 week to earn and buy a pair of gym shoes that won't bring you any value? He says, yeah, Pops, that's what I want, because you told me if I work for something, I should be able to get whatever I want. And I says, but you're forgetting a key term that I put with that. I said, within reason. I said, that's unreasonable. So yeah, so that was a long answer to the question, but yes, I did. I spent a lot of time with them. I tried to take them with me, show them things, and like I said earlier, a lot of that is paid off to this day. They're all thriving and doing pretty good. And like all of us humans, they're going through challenges and changes that they have to deal with, because it's never over until it's over.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know, it's funny, you and I have talked about, I mean, from the first time we met at the book signing back in Houston a couple of weeks ago, I mean, we sat down and talked like we'd known each other for decades, it seemed like, because we're on the same pathway of the subject and all that. We're same wavelength of the subject. But you just said something else that you won't believe either, that my wife and I were in the gift basket business as well. So there's one more thing, Don, we got to talk about here.
Yeah.
Choosing the right mate and partner, page 55. Whoa, boy. Let me tell you just quickly, my daughter was thinking she was getting on the upper 20s. She never thought she'd get married and all. So the way I did it was a little different, okay? But the thing is that I talked to her from my heart, and I told her that God had a special person for her one day. And the way I drew it out on a napkin and all, she just said, Dad, that's like over the top. I said, I know, but I'm a little older, so let's see what happens. And sure enough, within 2 years, it had come out just about exactly as I said. So let's hear your thoughts on choosing the right mate or partner at the right time, that is.
Yeah, so that is another one of those good, fun topics that I felt was important, because once again, it goes back to the root of the book, or the foundation, which is business. Because you know, like I know, when you take on a partner and you get married, it is a relationship that, especially if children come out of it, is that 99 years that we talked about earlier, Ariel. Whether a person wants to do the 99 years or not, they're still on the hook for those 99 years. But so choosing the right mate. So my daughter, she is married. So she's married and she has 3 kids just like that. So I got 3 grands from her and then 1 from my middle son. So a total of 4. But my son, when he was dating the mother of his child, she had came home and I said, son, that might not be the right girl for you right there. He's like, what are you talking about, Papa? Says, why is she at my house at 10:30 at night? And where's her parents? He said, well, her mother dropped her off and she said she's going to come back and get her. I says, but her mother didn't clear that with me. I said, this is my house, not your house. I said, so if she is comfortable with being here with you at this time, it's questionable. So he later learned that I was right? So he says to me this day, Dad, why didn't you tell me? I said, we talked about that, son. I says, as an adult, I can see things that you probably can't see while you're in the moment. I said, because I've been at that moment that you're at and I'm past there. And so I'm here to warn you. Now, I said, it's up to you to listen. So I want to add this point to that. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. I used to actually think that I was a very bad parent. And my friends would always say, man, no, you're not. You're a great parent. I'm like, no, well, my kids don't listen to me. So I want any parent that's hearing this right now to hear this. And somebody told me this and it meant a lot. He says, your kids hear you, but the reason why you think they don't is because they judge you, because they see all your flaws. Because what I was telling them was, why do my kids' friends like me better than my own kids? And he says, because your kids see all your flaws and the other kids don't. And I said, aha. So I just wanted to add that in there if I didn't earlier.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Keith with Dads for Life and my co-host, Miss Ariel Wheeler, down in Australia. We've been interviewing Don Middleton, also known as Donald Middleton. He wrote the book Conversations with My Dad, talking about success, business choices, and changes, something that we all deal with, not only with our children, but within our personal lives too. I recommend, I'm not finished with this book yet because I really just got it, but I am getting through it, and I tell you, I recommend it highly, that when you learn to, it's a great way to learn to communicate with your child on a positive level. I'm going to defer down to Australia one more time real briefly as I'm checking Periscope. You have a large following tonight on Periscope, Donald, and I want to see, welcome all my Periscope viewers and my Twitter follower viewers right now. If you have a question right now, you can send them through Periscope, and we will definitely get them out to Don in the last few minutes that we have. Miss Ariel, you have anything for Don one more time?
The only question that I think, the only thing that I really have is, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your amazing story with us, but also some life lessons that we can actually start instilling in our children's life very early, but also start implementing in our life now, because we are ultimately the role model, the face of the next generation, our children, and what's going to happen in their lives. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, because I'm just absolutely in awe with you for raising 3 children, and I'm struggling to raise 1 right now. So I'm in awe. So all the parents, out there who have, 2 or more children, I'm putting the hallelujah there out there for you guys, because I don't know how some of these parents actually do it. So if anyone has any great questions to ask Donald, sorry, I'll get it out. This is a great time to ask you now, because I'm sure that many of our viewers actually have a lot of questions.
Thank you, Ariel. I do have one here, Don, that says, so if you realize that you made a mistake, you realize your children are 12, 13, 14 years old, the way I'm understanding it, how do you reconnect with them, basically? Or in your thoughts, how would you reconnect with one that you feel like you're losing control over?
That is a great question.
So, and I'm saying this now as an older father looking back at a younger father, I would say to that person, listen to your children. If you can get them to open up to you, then listen and don't be judgmental, because our world is not their current world. They have so much more information that they receive at a young age that we didn't have access to it at my age, I'll say. So we need to listen first to what they may be going through, and then become a partner with them in working on viable, healthy solutions.
Well, that sounds like a great answer. And, you know, the thing is, I always say that, hey, we make a mistake, we got tomorrow. You know, if you have hope, you'll always be able to get through the next day, is the way I see it, because I see too many people giving up and we go through some tough times. I know all of us on this show tonight, we've been through some tough times. I personally have been through some very difficult times. But I can tell you this, that when you keep going, when you put that one foot in front of the other, ladies and gentlemen, you'll never, ever have to give up, because you're getting somewhere when you put one foot out in front of the others. So sometimes we feel like we're failing back 2 steps, Don, and putting 1 step ahead. We're losing ground, but we're getting there. So, well, any more thoughts as we close this out, Don? You certainly gained a lot of attention on Periscope, Don, so that's wonderful.
Well, you know, I like I said earlier, I didn't do this for me. I did it to help other people, because I feel that that is all of our human responsibility. Because I don't know if you remember me saying it at the Houston book signing, that we don't own anything in this world. We are simply the caretakers of what God has blessed us with. So if I acquire knowledge, goods, or things that can be helpful to others, it is not my job to hoard them or to store them away for some later date. It is my job to pass it on and share, because I'm a firm believer that there's enough in this universe to go around for everybody to have the things that they would like to have. And so I'll close by saying this. The last chapter in my book is called Choices. And Choices covers race, religion, and politics. And I wanted my children to understand the power of those 3 subjects, and how not everybody can talk about them and have a healthy, honest dialogue about them. So be careful who you talk to them about. But I wanted them to mostly understand this, that when you don't get your desired outcomes, like when we look at the election, because my son and I were talking about it recently, I said, you see how you got a group that's disgruntled and you got a group that's happy, but there still has to be common ground. So find where you have common ground in all of these things, be it race, religion, and politics, and then work from there and build from there. And then usually you'll come out okay. So I just want to share that lastly.
Well, that's a great way to end this, Don. We appreciate you. Once again, ladies, we have the book Conversations with My Dad, and we can find it on Amazon, right?
Yes, yes sir. Yes, sir.
Anywhere you find your books, you can find that book. We are here each and every Monday night. You can reach and find out more about our schedule at my website, dadsforlife.org. And you can reach out to us at 4dads, number 4 dads at bellsouth.net. We are here to encourage, enhance, and enrich the life of each and every one of you out there, dad and mom, because we only get one shot at these kids, and we have to help each other sometimes. So we appreciate each and every one of you for joining us. Until next time, this is Dr. Keith asking you to go out and encourage, enhance, and enrich the life of others. Especially start with your children, because they truly need it the most. Mr. Donald Middleton, thank you so much for being our guest tonight, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Miss Ariel Wheeler, thank you for Australia coming in the house and helping me out tonight. And my admin, Miss Glenda, we appreciate you so much, each and every one of you. So until next time, folks, 6 p.m. Monday, Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you later from Straight Talk with Parents. Bye-bye.